Well, hey, everybody. Thank you for joining me on this webinar. This one really holds a special place with me because we talk about financial literacy and financial discipline and getting out of debt, okay? And how to basically do that kind of stuff, right? How we can take care of our businesses and get out of debt. And what we're going to do is we're going to be talking to Amie Streater. Amie Streater is a broker from Colorado, and she is a Dave Ramsey coach. Pardon me, has been for 10 years. And she has her story that she's going to share, but she found her place like so many of us looking at a mountain of debt at one point, and she had to take control of that and accept it. I think that's one of the biggest issues with most of us, that we kind of ignore it, but we got to accept it and make a plan. So without any further ado, Amie Streater, welcome. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Johnny Moe. It's an honor to be on here with you today. I'm super excited. I am really passionate about this topic. Anybody who knows me knows I'm super passionate about personal finance because I've been terrible at it. A lot of, financial gurus out there are, they're accountants and they're financial planners and they're people who've always had their act together financially. Namaste. That's not me. I've struggled with this, and I think the way that we're innately created is that we can give the most out of the places where we have struggled the most. So that's where I'm coming from. So I want to start off by saying everything that I have to offer in terms of personal finance has come from experience doing it the wrong way. I have a PhD in messing up with personal finance. So I own that. I'm okay with it. And so I can always come from a place of no judgment. There's probably not a stupid financial decision that I personally have not made. So with that being said, yes. So short version of my story, the 1 minute version, my grandmother raised me and she passed away 6 weeks to the day after my twins were born. And we had just relocated back to our home state of Texas, but we moved to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I had no friends, didn't know anybody, had a new job, very high profile job as a journalist. And, it was very stressful. It was very traumatic. And some people drink and some people do drugs, and I shopped. And I'd always had problems with overspending. It wasn't new, let's be honest. But it was really bad this time because there was no mechanism for me to check myself. And so we got into $100,000 in credit card debt. And I found Dave Ramsey, and we started working on paying it off. Started volunteering at our church, helping other families pay off their debt. And it took off like wildfire. And very quickly, families on limited means were paying off hundreds of thousands of dollars of credit card debt very quickly, just using Dave Ramsey's methods. So, eventually I went into full-time ministry doing this. I became a financial coach, paid off tens of $millions of debt in 2 different states. It's what brought me to Colorado. And I went into real estate just because after, 7 years of that, I needed something fun. And, crazy me, I thought real estate would be a blast. And it is. I love real estate. But one of the things that I learned very quickly is managing your money when you have irregular income and you're self-employed is really difficult. It was the first time in my life I'd ever not gotten a paycheck every 2 weeks. I had a husband and 3 little kids who were counting on me. My husband works too. Don't get me wrong, but still, there's a lot of people looking at like, okay, let's go. I had to make money. There was no plan B. And
There is no plan B,
there
right?
is no plan B. You got to make a paycheck, or it's a hobby. It's not your job.
Let me ask you a quick
Yeah.
question. Now, you got into this gig, right? And now all of a sudden you start getting, I don't even want to call them paychecks because they're not paychecks. And I think that's where a lot of agents and brokers go wrong, because they think that it's a paycheck, but it's not a paycheck. Just like when Microsoft signs that big contract deal, they didn't just, that's revenue. That's not income, right?
No. Well, and so my very first commission check was $1,745.
Wow.
After my company split, after the transaction fee, after the split with my team leader, it was $1,745, and I was so excited. I still don't think I've gotten a check that low since. Praise the Lord. But so one of the things that I learned the hard way, as most of us do, but I'm going to say it a lot more bluntly because I want this to really resonate and like stick in agents' heads, because we get focused and I have to say, Johnny, we got connected because I purchased your More GCI program and started it in my office, talking to my agents about it, and I love it. I want to rattle the cage a little bit and say, because we're going into a shifting market, I want to challenge agents that your GCI doesn't really matter. That's not the number that matters. It's not the number that we need to focus on.
It's not.
And I want to challenge agents that if you are getting $1 million in GCI and you're spending $60,000 a month buying leads, and you've got, $8,000 a month in rent and $5,000 a month and, whatever, you are losing at this game. Because you're not making $1 million. You may be making $250,000. And after you pay the taxes on $1 million, and after you pay the staff that's required to make $1 million in GCI, I would challenge that you're probably actually losing money. So just a couple of things.
That sounds so scary, man. That's a big number, right? So let's just recap that. A lot of people, I know my company's called More GCI, and the whole reason we call it More GCI, it's not just about the GCI. What I train is that you got to understand what your personal budgets and savings goals are. You got to understand what your business budgets and your tax implication. That's what determines the GCI. Right. And what I find is some people will sit there and tell me, I'm just going to use a figurative number. I want to make 100,000. But it costs you 90,000 to live. So how are you going to run your business and pay your taxes on 10? So they estimate what they really need to make. Right. So having those budgets and understanding what your expenses are and how to read a P&L, whether you're an individual agent or you're a broker of 1,000 people, you've got to understand that. Right.
Right. Well, and there is a, and one of the things I loved about your program is because it cuts to the chase, and it's very honest and it's very straightforward. And it's just like, okay, let's look at the numbers. There's a lot of bad advice out there. A lot of high level coaching experts are giving some really bad advice, and they're turning real estate into a rat race, and they're turning it into something that may have you chasing things that are not actually true to who you are. And let me give you an example. If you have a coach who is like, hire this person, do this, do this, do this, and you're adding all of these things into your business that don't make you a better agent, who cares if you're selling more houses and you're becoming a terrible and disconnected agent? And that's just my personal opinion. But I think what's really important is we need to structure our businesses based on what kind of agent we want to be, what kind of parent do we want to be, what kind of spouse do we want to be, set a baseline for that kind of business. Okay, what number do I need in order to achieve this lifestyle and to be this person? And then we need to set up a business that's profitable. So I'm going to give you five things to do to stabilize business.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me write these down. Let me get a piece of paper.
And anyone who's watching this, if you want to friend me, I'm going to post this on my business page, and I'm going to post it on my personal page as well. I'm going to write all this down. But, life when you're self-employed tends to look like this. Yes. I hope everyone can see this okay.
Yeah, I can see it.
One of the things that I'd love everyone to do is to map out your income for 2018 by month and make a chart. And it's probably a roller coaster. 2018, your last year's income. We don't know.
Oh, your last year's income. Okay. So is this number one?
Do this first. Map out your income. Okay. And then know what your expenses are. I know to the dollar what our budget is in every single area for our business. And I know what it costs for every single agent. So I run a small brokerage. There's only 6 of us. And that's what works for us. We're not trying to have 200 agents here. But we know to the dollar what it costs for every single agent just to hold a chair in this office. There's empty desks behind me because otherwise it'd be party central in here. Had to kick everybody out to do the webinar. Yeah. So we know to the dollar. So one of the things that I challenged my agents with this year is don't get excited about your monthly, about your closings until you've crossed this threshold. Because until you've crossed this threshold, you cost the company and your teammates money. So
Mhm.
a little get check there.
Listen,
Um,
I love that because I know a lot of brokers are listening on. Are going to watch the replay too, and the agents play earmuffs with what I'm about to say. A lot, and not really, but a lot of brokers, right? And I want agents to buy into this too because I'm really real and I get to speak really real. A lot of brokers are struggling with exactly that, and the missing piece is that your other agents buy into the concept. They buy into the team where a lot of agents, and this, I'm not saying all agents, I'm not being a real jerk. A lot of agents are just, what's in it for me? So I
right,
think with the brokers, I know a lot of brokers are always asking me, how do I get the people engaged and stuff like that? Agents, you're a part of a team, you're part of a brokerage, it's a part of a greater success because if the brokerage fails and you got to go find someplace new, right?
right.
And they're always jumping around. Oh, I get a better split over here. I get profit share, rev share. Let's get into a cage match. There's all sorts of these other things. But really, when you look at it, is to say, we're all in this together and take some responsibility for the success of the brokerage. I think I think things change mentally.
Because what I hear a lot from other, and I don't recruit. I'm happy with my 6. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we're good. I don't recruit, but I hear a lot from other agents. They'll say things like, well, I paid my broker $20,000 a year last year, and he didn't do anything for me. Okay, at $20,000 a year, you're paying for your existence. You're not paying for your broker to do anything for you.
Mm-hmm.
And agents who are on these big teams where they're getting fed leads and then they're frustrated because they're having to give up 50% of their commission. Well, you're not providing business. Your team leader is providing that business. You're benefiting from it. So, yes, you have to pay back into that. There's no free lunch in real estate. And all agents need to take ownership of the fact that if you're receiving leads or benefit from a team leader, then you need to pay for that. I mean, we're not,
One
I
way or another, you're going to pay.
before I had my current team, when I had some other people that I had to, and one of my big things right now is I don't pull people. You get on
Mhm.
board or you get out of my office. And so I don't have anybody right now that I have to pull. I know I sound like a.
Listen, man, it's business. It's business.
This. And I
Pure and
promise
simple,
it's
it's
a really
business.
honest conversation, and that's what we're having. And so I would say, I am not the lead fairy. You need to go out there and you need to hustle. I will teach you how to hustle. I will teach you how to generate business, but I'm not going to sit here and bestow leads upon you. And then you decide which ones you want to call and then whine. We're not doing that.
Believe
Okay.
it or not, that's a
Leads.
huge industry problem that all brokers, especially like the smaller indie brokers, indie broker teams, they deal with. Where, man, you get 10 leads sitting in there and you haven't even called them. That's lost revenue to you, to the team, to the organization.
When nobody's calling me back, call
Yeah,
20 more people.
yeah. Call
Get out
20
of my
more.
office.
Yeah, 10 conversations a day. Did you make them?
I used to be a newspaper reporter. I spent 15 years as a newspaper reporter.
Yeah.
And I had an editor, David McFarland, God rest his soul. And when there were too many reporters hanging around the newsroom, drinking coffee, yakking away, he would stand up and he would say very loudly, "Very little news happens in the newsroom." And that was his cue to get everybody off their butts and out there doing their jobs, doing what they were paid to do, which is finding out what's happening in the community. Okay, nobody in this office today is going to buy a house from any one of my agents.
No,
So
not
get
at all.
out and go hustle. Okay, back to the 5 things.
Yeah,
Squirrel.
so that number one was map out your income and track your expenses.
Yes.
Basically, look at your ROI,
Know
right?
your costs. Know your costs. And the best way to know your costs is to go through your Quicken, your QuickBooks, whatever, your checkbook, your receipts, your ashtray in your car, whatever. And you have to know where you spent every single dollar in 2018. And I'm guessing 85% of the people watching this video can't do that, and that's your first problem.
Hmm.
So you have to
I 100% agree with you.
Yep,
100%
your
agree.
costs. And then know your cost, map out your income. That's number one, is know your cost and map out your income. We're still on number one. Number two is reduce your expenses. Look at your expenses. Look at where you're spending money, and you need to cut where you can cut. We are all spending money on stupid things that we don't need to be spending money on. So go find
So,
places you can cut.
so to me, as a business owner, there's two types of expenses. There's operational, right?
Mhm.
And those are the things that keep the operations going. And then, or you're fixed in if you want to call them that, in your variable, you're fixed in your variable. Or I like to call them operational or production, right? Your production is the one where you can't measure the ROI on the lights being turned on, right? That's a fixed expense. It's got to be on, right? But you can you can on your marketing efforts, your postcards, your CRMs, or your IDX, you can uh, register or see the ROI on those, right? So those are the ones. Are those the ones that you're talking about?
Well, you can question the validity of every expense, and then you can question, is there another way to accomplish this with less outgo? Is
Mm-hmm.
there a less expensive way to do it? Now, one of the things for me is, with there being six of us, we're a luxury brokerage. Everything has to look top notch, first class. I don't go cheap on anything, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
very selective in what I spend money on. And so, if the place where we get our signs is not the cheapest place to get signs, but the quality of the signs, our signs last us longer. I don't have to buy as many signs. I can use a sign for 10, 15, 20 listings, unless, Colorado gust of wind takes it out. But those are the types of things, look for quality over quantity, and just question if yes, I have to have this thing. Yes, you have to have a website. Is there another place where you can do a similar website for less money?
Mm-hmm.
And that being said, don't waste 6 weeks, ripping out the baby with the bathwater. But just, try to reduce your expenses. In one pass, you ought to be able to reduce your expenses by 10%. And I would challenge everyone to try to reduce your expenses by 20%, even 30%.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got an assistant who spends a whole lot of time entertaining everyone in the office, maybe she needs to go. If her ROI is not, relationships are important. But payroll is a great place to cut. And that's one place where I feel like people get a lot of bad advice. When I started in coaching, I got, hire this person, hire this person, hire this person.
Mm-hmm.
And hiring more people isn't necessarily the answer. If you, have people in your office, have agents in your office who are plugged into doing the things that need to be done. Everybody needs to pull the wagon. So
Michael Gerber says something so beautiful about that. And I agree. A lot of people are just hiring just to free up your time, but they're not hiring right. And what Michael Gerber will say is that people are hiring by abdication and not delegation. So they're hiring just for the sake of hiring to free up their time because they don't have time to do that anymore. Where if you hire by delegation, you're hiring somebody to do it your way with policies and procedures, the way that you're going to, not just here, answer the phones, figure it out. That's abdication. You're just getting out of the situation, right? I did that hiring one of my assistants. I was so buried in the bank-owned world. I was legit working 18 hours a day, doing expenses at night and everything, working until 11, 12 o'clock at night. And I just said, oh, you want a job? You're hired, right? And then whatever, it got me out of the muck, but it just didn't pan out well in the end.
Well, and then rather have an employee do tasks. See if that's not something that you can outsource another way. For example, if you're paying an assistant to manage all of your receipts and all of your expenses and your budget, see if you can't turn that over to your accountant who's not on the payroll, and that's going to save you some money that way.
So don't go to number 3 yet.
Okay.
As far as expenses, what do you think is a good ROI on a variable expense, on a production expense, on advertising, those types of things? A lot of people get carried away with this and say, oh, I made 3 times ROI on that. I made 4 times ROI for that. What do you think is a good ROI X factor on an expense? You spend $1,000. What do you expect to see back and call that a decent return?
It depends on the expense. If I'm doing a mail out, I'm going to have a different ROI expectation than I am for my website, because I have to have a website. I don't have to do a mail out.
Mm-hmm.
So things that are necessary, like your CRM, like your website, your phone line, your text lead sources, things like that. If they pay for themselves, honestly, I'm happy. For those that you have to have anyway.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't pay for themselves and you're paying for something, then you need to look at quality over quantity. Maybe you need to find a better source for the thing. But if it's a mail out, I think it really, or Facebook advertising, a television commercial, a radio commercial, I think you just have to set your expectations up front and know what your goals are. If your goal is being top of mind, then and you've got the cash flow to cash flow something like a radio commercial that keeps you top of mind but doesn't bring clients right away, you're still sowing the seeds. So I don't think you can, I think generally, and we're going to get to that in the 5 changes you need to make right now.
Okay.
But I think generally on advertising, marketing, things like that, I think 3 to 1 is a really good goal. Unless it's something that you have to have if you're just making your money back, you can probably get rid of it.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because I tell my people 4 times is what at minimum I strive for. I will accept 3 times depending on the situation, right? Because
Right.
what a lot of people don't consider is we got to recoup our investment back, and we got to pay taxes. So if you just doubled you put 1,000 in and got 2,000 back, by the time you get your 1,000 back, so now we're talking about 1,000. You got to pay taxes on that 1,000. Now we're at 800. Now we're looking at that true 800 on 1,000. It's very different than saying, hey, I made 2,000. You didn't make 2,000. I think a lot of people get twisted up like that.
But everything is not a dollar to dollar investment. We did a mail out to one of our farms last year, and I don't want to say it was mail out. I mean, it was much more than that. I mean, we sent a very expensive packet of information out to a farm, a very small farm, and we got six deals out of it last year.
Wow.
So it was probably a 10% ROI. Now we're doing that again, and do I expect a 10% ROI? No. But I expect to reestablish my dominance in that farm, reconnect with those people, introduce myself to the people who bought the homes that I sold last year because I wasn't their buyer's agent. So is it a loss if I don't have a 10% ROI on that mail out? Absolutely not. I'm staying top of mind, word of mouth, reestablishing dominance in my farm. To me, that's the win. I'm not even going to think about how much money I spent on that because it's in my marketing budget, which gets me to number 3. Once you've cut your expenses, you need to reset your baseline. This is what's going to save you in 2020 when we don't have the market that we're going to have in 2019. When you have a baseline budget for your business, whatever that dollar amount is, if it's $2,500 a month, if it's $25,000 a month, you need to know what that number is. And every single month, you know that you are not profitable as an agent until you've made at least that much money. Not only do you need to make that much money every month, you need to make it for the months that you're not going to make it. So we had a crushingly bad December. One of the title reps that I had lunch with this week told me that the numbers for December, and I have not seen them yet, were the worst that she's seen in 4 years. And that's scary. So personally, I was ready and the business was ready. But it kind of rattled me to my core and got me excited about talking about this stuff. Because when I talk to you guys about it, then I do it even better myself. We've got to be ready for those months that we're not going to have that income. Let's say that your number is $5,000 a month. Until you have $60,000 in your business account to run your business for the next 12 months, you are not profitable. Ideally, in the market that we're going into, you need to aim for 18 months or 24 months. Set a goal that works for you and have that money in the bank. That is your first goal, because when all else fails, you have to be able to run your business. And what happens to a lot of agents is they start putting, I have to pay my mortgage and there's no excess and I have to do this and I have to do this. And then they start pulling money out of the business, and the business putting money back into the business when times are lean is what's going to help you excel.
Well, or the other one comes along, I got to pay my taxes.
Yeah, I got to pay my taxes, so I got to take all the money. So no, that's a separate account.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've got to, so that's something that's realistic. If you're 1 or 2 years in the business and you're still, treading water, maybe you want to try for 6 months first, and then 12, and then 18, and then 24. But ideally, I'd like to see every independent agent. To me, if you're a strong agent who's doing well in your market and you're a grown up in this business, 24 months of business expenses in the bank is standard. Then number 4, you need to set your financial goals based on profit, not on numbers. One of the biggest mistakes that I've ever made in this business was a couple of years ago. My goal for the year,
set your
profit-based goals. Set profit-based goals is number 4. Number 3 is reset your baseline after you've cut your expenses. Number 4 is to set profit-based goals. Do not set your goals based on a number of transactions. And here's why. Number 1, the people that we serve are not numbers. They're people, they're families. Number 2, when you have numbers-based goals based on how many transactions, how many houses you want to sell, you will say yes to some very bad things. I took some listings a couple of years ago that I should not have taken just to hit my goals and to hit my numbers. And these were people that I never in a million years would have chosen to work with. They were mean, they were rude, they were ungrateful, they were demanding, they wanted commission cuts. I said yes to things that I should not have said yes to.
They were a bully client.
Bully clients who ate my lunch for 3-4 months before that house finally sold.
Mm.
And these, I don't have a business like that. Most of my clients are people that I want to have into my home the weekend after the closing. And man, never again, never again. Because if I wasn't focused on hitting that number, I never would have said yes to that listing, because I knew when I met the person, I didn't want to work with them. And I took the listing anyway to hit my numbers.
Yep. No, I agree with you 100%. Say no to bully clients. The problem is this, Amie, is a lot of people, first of all, they don't have, and again, this is my job isn't to insult. My job is to be real, and I think we need more real talk in our business. But a lot of agents will, especially newer agents, and I get it. We got to eat, right? But a lot of new agents will take anything. And they'll be like, "Oh, but it's a deal, and I'm hustling. I made $4,000, $8,000, $5,000." Did you? You got to look at what that cost you, because a bully client will put you in a bad mood, and you'll actually lose business.
Yeah.
They'll monopolize your time, and they'll monopolize your time, your energy, and your emotion. So carry
A
on.
bully client is a very expensive client to have, and a bad listing is a very bad listing, is a very expensive listing to have. If somebody drives by, a really icky looking house with your sign in the yard, then they associate you with icky houses.
Oh, for sure.
The end of the day, all we have is our brand. And another thing is, whenever you cut your rate, whenever you let a potential client bully you into cutting your rate, they will always, every single day, treat you like you cut your rate. Know your value, know your worth, charge what you charge, and do not apologize for it, and do not cut your rate.
I just said that to somebody today, one of my collaboration partners. She's another coach. I say, I know my worth. I won't chase somebody. And I was talking about a business deal on a high level, right? Not outside of real estate a little. I said, I know what I bring to the table. I know my worth. I will not chase. I will not beg. I will not apologize.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
it.
and there was a suggestion on Lab Coat Agents today. Somebody was saying that they were having a lot of clients trying to get their rate down.
Mhm.
And they said, somebody suggested, we'll offer 5%, 6%, 7%. At 5%, I do this. At 6%, I do this. At 7%, I do this. I disagree with that. I respectfully disagree with that.
Mhm.
I do the same thing for every client every single time. If it's $1 million listing or a $250,000 listing, it's the same photographer. It's the same quality of marketing. It's the same package.
Me too.
And yeah, I don't believe in dumbing things down. And if somebody doesn't want to work, if they don't want their listing marketed to my standard, I'm not the agent for them, and that's okay. There's lots of other agents out there. I tell my team all the time, everybody is not for everybody. Everybody's not going to love me. That's why we have 6 different personalities in this room. I know it's shocking, but some people, whatever. But if someone doesn't like your approach, your style, then that's okay. They can go find another agent, and you can go find another client who's a better fit for you.
Mhm.
So now, because we are in a shifting market, I think everybody knows that. Johnny, can I share 5 changes that I think every agent ought to make right now in order
Dude,
to
did we get to number 5? What was number 5?
Number 5. Did you get number 5 on number 5 on the last one is, once you set those profit-based goals, you need to write them down every place that you can, on your planner, on your phone, on your husband's forehead, wherever. And you need to be so focused on those goals, and do not sacrifice those goals. And then you need to go and exceed them.
I say the same thing, Amie. In a slightly different way, about the 5 pillars. What are you going to do for yourself? Yourself is always first, because if you're dead, you're no good to anybody else. Yourself, your family, your business, your finances, and your spirit or your soul. You hang this up and you look at it every single day, just like doing morning affirmations or morning meditation. You look at that and say, I need to make sure that I do X, 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 X. XXX, 5 X's. What is the number one most important thing I can do to be the best version of myself? What is the number one thing I can do to be the best version in my family and bring them to the next level of peace, or make sure that they're making good decisions. I got an 18-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old son. They're making great decisions. Very proud of them. Sometimes that just happens, but it also happens because we sit down and talk and connect and go on vacation and talk and shut our phones off. What's the number one thing I'm doing for my business? Listen, we can get business from anywhere, all over the place, all this distraction, but it might not be my focal point. So you got to stay focused. What's the number one thing I'm doing for my finances? Very proud of myself. I was going to stop and pick up subs the other day for my family, and it's always $40. So I said, you know what? I get a Hello Fresh. It's at home. I'm gonna go home and make the tacos or whatever it was. I went home, made the tacos. I felt good. I transferred the $30 into a special account that I have that when I hit a certain amount, it goes into a mutual fund, right? I was like, oh, $30. It made me happy, right? Now, what's the number one thing I'm doing for my finances, my business? And what's the number one thing I'm doing and giving thanks and being a good steward of this earth and paying it forward and helping my community, right? And giving, just being grateful in my spirit, my soul. What are the number one things? Am I hitting these things every day? Because that's what puts us in balance. And I love that you're putting them somewhere and you have to look at them. You have to be dedicated to them. Just like if you want to run a marathon, you're not just going to show up and start running the marathon. There's a specific regimen, right? You got to probably eat a specific way, because if you're eating Chinese food every day, it's going to bog you down, right? You got to go out there and run like 5 miles or 7 miles, whatever it is. They got the special regimen to work you up to running a marathon. You got to go out there and do it. You just got to do it and focus on it. And how long did it take me to do my 7 miles today? And be ingrained in it. You can't just write it up on a board, say, I want to run a marathon, and just ignore it. If you ignore it, what happens is you end up in debt. What happens if you ignore it is your business goes down and you don't even realize it. You start spending more in certain areas.
Yeah, you got to actually do it.
You got to be top of mind. And not only just top of mind, ingrain it into the subconscious, because that's what drives us, the subconscious mind. Have it driven in there so deep that it's always aware. All right, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. And I love what you said about your kids. I mean, you've got an 18 and a 16-year-old. I've got an 18-year-old who's about to turn 19 and 14-year-old twins who are about to turn 15. So I've got 3 young men in my house that I'm turning into men. Mm-hmm. And so we have in our kitchen a calendar where I do all of the meal planning. So everyone knows what's for dinner. Everybody knows when Cole has to be at work and when Cole has classes and things like that, when mom has a closing or if mom has a late showing. But I have a sticky note. So my coach, Beth, hi Beth, if you're watching, she had me write down my goal, but she also had me reframe the wording of it. And the last part of it was, and my actions will mirror my commitment. So it's one thing to have a goal, but she said, write it down. Here's what I intend to do. And my actions will mirror my commitment. So there's a sticky note above the calendar that says, this year I intend to, there's my goal, and my actions will mirror my commitment. My children are seeing that every single day, and they're teenagers and they know everything. And so they know I'm going to answer my phone. They know I'm going to go on a listing appointment. They know I'm going to maximize my time in the office so that when I come home, I can focus on them. They know I'm going to make one more phone call. Mm-hmm. So I'm showing them that I'm going to let my actions mirror my commitment, because a lot of times we set these goals and then we go back to doing whatever it is that we were doing. Mm-hmm. And, life doesn't change until you do, right?
Well, the definition of sanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. So if you don't change, this is why, bless you, this is why I will not set resolutions. The majority of people.
No, I don't set resolutions either, but I'm big on changes. So can I share 5 changes to make right now?
5 changes to make right now. That was my last Post-it. Let me see if I got one over here. Yeah, that one worked. Go ahead. We're going to write them down.
Changes to make right now. These are things you can do quickly. These are little shifts that you can make in how you run your business. All right, number 1. Never buy any service, marketing piece, thing. Never buy anything that you can't try first. Mm-hmm. And by try, I mean like 30, 60, 90 days for free. If I can't use it in my business for 30 days before I give you my credit card, I don't want it. If it's that good, you're going to let me try it and I'm going to be hooked.
Okay. So number 1,
don't buy it if you can't try it first for an extended at least 30 days.
Try before you buy. Yeah. A lot of these places want to lock you up in a contract right off the bat. It's like, whoa, I'm not, that's like me getting married and I never even met the girl.
Okay. That's number 2.
Okay.
I'm going to make a kind of a gloom and doom prediction.
Okay.
That when the market tanks, and it will, what's going to take a lot of agents down financially is not the lack of business. It's going to be that they're buried under contracts for crap that they can no longer afford, and now they can't get out of it. So
Is that
number
not true?
2 is never, ever sign up for a contract that has payments, ever. If you want a service, you pay, and they require a 1-year contract, you don't buy it unless you can write a check for the entire year up front, and don't put it on a credit card. If you can't pay cash for that service up front for the entire year, don't buy it.
Hence why what I teach is in finance, when we're talking about the financing thing, and I'm just going to use 10,000. I'm going to go through this real quick. $10,000 is the commission check that you received. I work for Amie. Amie was nice enough to take her split out, so I got $10,000. Right? She got paid first. I got my 10,000. That's not my 10,000. I got to account 25% at a up to you and your accountant to come up with the strategy. 20 to 30. Some states have income tax. I don't. I use 25%. 25% income tax. 20% funded to my business for the exact reason you just said. 10 or 15% to savings. 40% is mine. Right? So the reason I sit there and say you need to fund your business, you need to put capital into your business, keep that separate business account, keep that separate personal account, is so when you do want to do a service, you're not putting it on a credit card, you're not on payments. Let's say it's $2,000. Okay, my operating budget is $3,000 a month. I have an excess of, I said it was $2,000, right? I have an excess of whatever the number is. I can write the check out. I can give them that one-time payment. And often when you give them a one-time payment, you get a discount anyway, so it would be logical to try to strive for that. So this is why, everybody, if you listen to any of my trainings or anything, why I say fund your business 20%, don't use credit cards, because when the market does shift, if you're putting all this crap on credit card, you're going to be like Amie was 11 years ago.
Yeah. And here's the thing, when the market shifts, and it's going to happen quickly, and we're not going to have any notice. And my heart aches for some of you who are in contracts for $5,000, $8,000, $12,000, $15,000, $25,000 a month, paying for leads that are going to dry up in a minute, and you are still on the hook to pay out that contract.
I saw it in 2007.
Even when the leads dry up and go away, you are still on the hook for that $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month. And if you think for a second that that corporation doesn't care if you lose your home, as long as you make those payments to them, you are mistaken. That corporation is not there for you. They're not there to help your business. They're there to perpetuate themselves. And we're going to have agents losing their homes because they're beholden to these terrifyingly behemoth contracts, buying leads from companies that are going to end up taking everything from them. And maybe they did 200 deals last year, depending on your market, 100 deals last year, and they're going to lose everything because of their financial structure. They've got payments that they can't pay. My CRM website, everything is bundled, no contract. I can pull the plug and not pay another penny at any time.
You know you know this, and you know what I'm about to say, that the average American doesn't even have 3 months worth of savings, right? And they can't afford a major emergency if they needed to. There's the average American. Real estate agents are no different. I mean, they say that there's an 87% fail rate, which means there's a 13% success rate. But the top producers who are doing the 20, 40, 50, 100 million, that's a small percentage. But in order to do $100 million in production, you're going to have a big fat expense account to pay for all this stuff. So when it does go, it hurts. I was that agent. It hurts. It hurts having $15,000, $18,000 a month expense when you have $12,000 coming in.
I think realtors have a tendency to be even worse at it because, there's a lot of lifestyle entrapments in our industry. And, being a luxury agent, there's a lot of expectations about what kind of car you drive. And even the mainstream agents, it's kind of like, who's got the newer Beamer or Mercedes, or who's got the newer Lexus. And, I'm guilty of this too. I drive a nice car and I like nice things, but I pay for my things in cash as I go. Cause I may make a mistake once, I may make it twice, I may make it 14 times, but we're on cycle 15 now. I'm finally starting to learn my lesson. It's okay to have nice things, but you got to pay cash for them.
Uncle G says it this way. I'm stumbling on it. Uncle G says it this way. I'll buy anything that I want as long as it's in my 40%. If I want something really nice, I need to increase my 40%. And
Right.
I mean, take it from a multimillionaire, take it from, Dave Ramsey, and take it from somebody like you that's, had to get out of that way. Take it from somebody like me that when I tripped, I didn't just trip and skin my knee. I fell all the way down the mountain, right? Because the market crashed, divorce in the same year, all this other crazy stuff.
I think
So
we met at the bottom of the mountain.
we might have met at the bottom of the mountain. We're both sitting there in a tent. But really understand that you can have anything you want. Just make sure that it's within your 40% personal budget. You want a new car? Don't be skimming from the government, because they're not gonna take that kindly. They want their money. And then here's the thing: if you don't have the money to pay them, they'll let you pay them. They're really good about that. But you're paying 21.9% interest, and you're paying failure to pay penalties like 2,500, $5,000, and all these other things. Now all of a sudden you're 15 grand that you're using to pay for your Beamer or your new Hummer or your new boat that you should have paid them. That 15 grand turns into 24 grand real quick over time, right? Bad.
Right.
It's bad.
Well,
They're bad.
here's the third thing to do.
Okay, yeah, third.
So in the first quarter, you have 3 months, number three, third quarter, in the first quarter, in the next 3 months, get your debts paid off. Whatever you have to do. If you have to knock on every door in your town and get every listing that you can possibly ever conceive of getting to get your debts paid off in the first quarter, do it. Pay it off, because we don't know when the shift is going to happen, and you don't want to take any debt into that. If you have debt, you have nothing. You have nothing. So get those debts paid off in the first quarter. And number four,
If you have debt paid off, then you're out of the system. You're out of the system that just feeds. I'm going to sound conspiracy theorist here. That feeds the big banks, that feed the Federal Reserve. If you have no debt, you're not in that system. You've released. You've freed yourself from bondage. Go ahead.
yeah. And then you have the flexibility to make the right choices for your family and for your business, because
Yep.
you're not burdened with debt.
You have the flexibility to take a nap at 2:00 in the afternoon if you so choose as well.
Right. Number four is stockpile cash. So you have a baseline for your business from the last 5 things that I gave you. You've paid off your debts. You need to have a baseline for your personal expenses as well. What does it cost you to run your household? Everything else goes into cash.
Mm-hmm.
I would say scale back your vacations this year. Scale back your purchases. Don't buy a new car. Stockpile cash, stockpile cash, stockpile cash. Tom Ferry said this last fall, and I'm so glad he did. I went to his Blueprint seminar here in
Yeah,
Las Vegas a few months ago, and the first thing he said when he came out on the stage was start stockpiling cash. So once you have the baseline set, you know what it costs you to run your business, and you've gotten it down as lean as you can get it. You've gotten out of as many contracts as you can, or you know exactly when you're going to pay them off, and you're not going to renew them unless you can pay cash upfront for the full year. Then the third thing, get those debts paid off, and then start stockpiling cash.
Here's the thing that some people just are totally not aware of about economics. Now, with everything that's going on out there, and this will not turn into a political spin, I do not talk politics, okay? But with everything that's going on out there in this world, markets crashing here, this one doing that, it is a manipulation of money. It always is, and it always will be a manipulation of money. What if hyperinflation hits us? What if inflation hits us? Just like it did in Venezuela, and now a loaf of bread costs $20. I was at the store the other day. I was on the phone with my friend. I said, Jesus Christ, it costs $1.50 to get a roll of paper towels now? Where are the 99-cent paper towels? This was the basic brand, $1.59 for a roll of paper towels. I went in there and just got a few midweek provisions, and it was $78. And I'm like, everything is more expensive now, except milk. Everything is more expensive now except for milk, right? You want to eat healthy? It's expensive. It's only going to get more expensive. So if inflation hits, that 20 grand that you think might be your safety net might really only be worth about 10 in the future, so that you don't underestimate how much cash you need, right? Stockpile big too.
Well, and you've heard of the realtor's prayer.
Yeah.
Lord, give me one more good run. I promise I won't blow it this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
2019,
I say it every morning.
I don't have a crystal ball, but I listen to a lot of really smart people,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of really smart people are telling us that 2019 is going to be awesome. It's going to be better than 2017. It's going to be better than 2018. It's going to be a fantastic year, and a lot of agents are going to get lax in their business, and they're going to get lax in their money management because the money is pouring in, and they're going to start spending a lot of money, and they're going to sign up for a lot of things that are going to require payments that are going to encumber them into 2020. that is going to be the failure of a lot of agents.
Let me
So
give you this analogy. I got into the business in 2002 and I was killing it. I came from the dot-com world. I was a network engineer. Nobody had really powerful web pages. Zillow didn't exist. Facebook didn't exist. I ranked number one. People are like, how are you doing so well in this business? Of course, I didn't share my secrets back then. But what happened from 2002 to 2007 were we were all in Utah, right? We're riding on top of the flats on horses going as fast as we can. And then there is a place in Utah called Dead Horse Point. They thirsted so much for water that they all jumped off the ledge to try to get down to the river. They're sitting there running, and all of a sudden, over the cliff we went. We didn't see the cliff coming. We didn't see the cliff happening that fast. Now, that was a very different world with a lot of fraud involved, okay? But even if we have a market shift by 10 or 15%, that's still going to be impactful. Even if instead of selling 1,000 houses in your area, now we only sold 700, that's still a huge impact. Okay.
30%, yeah.
Right. It's still a huge impact. And what's going to happen, and I hope people don't do this because the market is good, is go hell bent. This is going to be great forever. You know how many people I know, good friends of mine, who got burnt in 2007, lost their houses, lost their townhouses on the water, lost their condos, their beach houses and stuff like that. You know who survived? The lady that sold me my very first house. I walked into a restaurant. She goes, "Oh, hi, John. How many people tonight?" She was hostessing to make ends meet. That's miserable. That's miserable. But, you know, if you have the cash, if you have some wise investments, then you can weather that storm. It's going to come. It always will come. It's cyclical. It's not doom and gloom. It's reality. So prepare yourself. If the market does shift, do you have enough money for, say, 6 months to survive? And your business. You got enough in your business account to run your business for 6 months. Where are your expenses? All right, on to number 5.
Well, and what a lot of agents do out of what feels like necessity. So when I'm coaching someone, one of the things you're not allowed to say is, "I had no choice." You always have choices.
Always.
A lot of times you make bad choices and then you limit your future choices, but you always have choice. I'm going to show you this. So most of the time, most people are down here. They're struggling. And this is agents too. The average agent in my market does 2 deals a year. That is not a living wage. And, maybe they have a spouse or a significant other who makes the bacon, and that's fine, but they're hobby agents and they don't make enough to support themselves. And then you got a few who get by and they do okay. And these are the ones who probably talk the most on Facebook. They don't do enough business, you can tell, to support the BMW and everything else that they're doing, but they're faking it until they make it, and they're counting on making it. They don't have a plan to make it, but they're counting on making it. And then you got a few up here that are doing okay. There's about a 50% drop off in the numbers at every little echelon here. Yeah. They're doing all right. They're saving some money. They've gotten out of debt. The people who are going to succeed in the down market, the people who are going to be able to take all of the opportunities, are the people who've saved money. And what you have up here is space. Down here, the field is very crowded. Up here, you have a lot of space. You can do things. You can move. You can negotiate. You can buy investment properties. You can pay your bills and not stress about it. We say in our office there are no slow markets, or only slow agents. But when you're up here, when you're in the surplus category, you are going to have the bandwidth to be able to make choices that other people aren't going to make. I don't care what industry you're in, even if you're not a realtor. Mm-hmm. Cash is always king. I don't believe in leveraging other people's money. I know that's a real popular thing out there, and a lot of agents love to talk about it. I don't care what book, what operating system, whatever you've bought into that says leveraging other people's money to build wealth, it is a lie. Anything based on debt is a financial lie, and it's a house of cards, and it will crumble. If you have cash and you have no debt, you will be okay and you will win, which gets me to number 5. Question everything that you spend money on. This gets back to ROI. So generally a 3-to-1 ROI, but question everything.
You sound like the smoking man to Mulder.
Just because
everything.
Hey, you're talking to a girl who has a dog named Fox Mulder.
Oh.
Question every single thing that you spend money on. And I'm going to say something crazy here. Okay. If you are, and I'm just throwing out an idea here, just give you an example, question everything. Mm-hmm. If your business is 100% referral and relationship based, 100%, and you have been in the business a long time and you have a great reputation. Can you be an independent agent and work out of your house? Do you need a website? Do you need a 1-800 number? Or can you make more money doing the same amount of business by cutting out a lot of that stuff?
So,
And everybody needs to do this. And, if you have a big team, if you own a brokerage, things like that, I'm talking about the individual agent who's spending $25,000 a year to be at a brokerage, back to the conversation that we talked about earlier, because that makes her feel safe. I would say question everything that you think you have to have in your business, and what's the ROI on that. I think we're going to have a shifting model, in that agents who are strong in their own lead generation, strong in their own ability to bring their own business, know how much money they need to make to survive, know how much money they need to make to thrive. They're going to step out of that big brokerage model, and they're going to become independent. Yeah. Because there's a lot of financial security. And every single bill that you pay needs to be questioned. I tell my own agents this: if being here is not the best thing for you, if it's not building your business and making you a better agent, then don't be here. We all need to do a better job of questioning everything that we're supposed to have, that we have to have, right down to the website. A lot of people have websites they never use, they never touch. There's no traffic on them. That doesn't bring them any business, and they're paying $450 a month for a service, for a website they don't use.
So I had a pretty decent producing team during the crash. I was one of the top REO listings and agents in the state. We're killing it. We're crushing it. And, when the market started to dry up and become during the flat years before it started to increase again, I went to Florida with my mom. She's been a serial entrepreneur her whole life, and we just ran a bunch of different spreadsheets with all the expenses in it. And I was like, damn, for the risk that I'm taking, for the stress that I got, and for the, for the amount of hours that I'm working, having this team and everything, I'm the only one not making money. I made such a small amount, $7,500 a year more when all is said and done, than had I just did my own business. Right? Instead of trying to capitalize on everything and leads and take all the leads. Or if I just focused on being a good bank-owned agent, just selling the bank, referring out the leads that came in, I would have been better off. So I created a saying back then called less is more. Right? And really doing $8 million a year as an individual agent with very little expense, I made more than doing like $25 million with the team, because when you took the time value and everything else into consideration, it just wasn't worth the 12, 14, 15-hour days,
And back to the first part of our conversation, it's not what you make, it's what you keep.
Yes.
And in a shifting market, if you're paying $25,000 a year for something that isn't bringing you any ROI, then how much less business can you do? How much more life can you live? And still be okay. And when you question everything, ask the right questions. We talked about people who, are on a 95-5 split and paying $50 a month in office fees and complaining that they're paying too much for their broker. Again, it costs money to be in this business. So make sure that you're
costs money to get going in this business too. That's what a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah. And if you're only doing a couple of deals a year, you're probably losing money being in this business, and maybe you need to get out of it altogether. That's not necessarily a bad decision for a lot of folks.
Yep. And Christina posted KISS, KISS, and some people might not know what that means. And it basically means keep it simple, salesperson. We won't use the old term. Keep it simple, salesperson. Just keep it simple. Just keep it simple. I have this girl that's on a team that I coach. I coach the team, and she does a great business. She does the business that she wants to do. It's 24 to 30 deals a year. She's happy with that. It's all referral. It's all networking at her church and everything else like that. I say to her, you could double your business if you opened up your Facebook. She goes, my Facebook is only for my family and real friends. You can't even see a picture. She's got it locked down. She goes, that's only for me to communicate with my family and friends. I'm happy with my business the way that it is. She has no expense. Just zero expense. So she doing 24 to 30 deals a year is like somebody else doing maybe 40 to 50 because they have the expense. Right. So you got to understand, I teach this thing called the peace access. You got to know where enough is enough and that's the number that's going to give you everything. And then if something comes along, like you're saying, the bully client, you're not even in my radar, out of the way. I'm staying in my peace access, because real estate itself is fun, but it's like being a fireman. It's 5% real estate, 95% a bunch of other stuff we got to do. I call it
Yeah.
the suck. It's 95% suck and 5% enjoyment, right? So if I can stay in that 5% enjoyment and stretch that to 10%, and I don't have all this other suck, boy, my life is pretty good. I'm pretty happy. And guess what? My 5 circles are in balance.
And
Right?
so I want to challenge agents out there to think about what you really want. Think about the life that you want to create. Think about the business that you want to create. Think about the kind of agent that you want to be. And be really careful who speaks into your life about that. And selling 100 houses, if that's like the end all be all in your market, or 200 houses or 300 houses, if you really don't care, then don't chase after that. Don't go buy leads just so you can make $1 million, just so you can spend 750,000 to make the million. Know yourself, be true to yourself. You still got to be a good parent and a good spouse, and you got to still look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day. What kind of business do you want to have? Go create that business. Say, here's the agent that I want to be. What are the things that that agent is going to do today? That's
Mhm.
one of the questions that I ask myself every single day. Here's the Amie Streater that I want to be. What is she doing today? It may not necessarily be the most comfortable thing that I want to do. And I don't hit my goals every single day, but at least I work towards becoming more like that idealized version of myself that we're all trying to become.
Mhm.
And know when you get there, and celebrate when you get there. And
Celebrate every day. Celebrate the wins. Be
celebrate the
grateful.
wins. Otherwise, what the heck are you doing?
Yep. So I tell people often, and I'm going to break it down just differently, because I think this is great, because we get to say it 2 different ways, the same thing, but 2 different ways, right? Different interpretations. So hopefully it helps even just one person. What Amy's saying, how I interpret it, is be be proactive. Don't be reactionary, right? A lot of agents are spending time in reactionary mode, and I can tell you from somebody that was in reactionary mode, my children grew up so fast that one day I said, what do you mean you're going for driver's ed? What do you mean you're 13? Because when the movie, we're at the movies, I got to grab this call. It's an inquiry. It's not even a lead. It's an inquiry. Oh, I got to go grab the Zillow inquiry. Let me run out. Let me miss your recital because I got to call. Oh, come to find out you got an agent. Oh, come to find out you can't even get prepared. Stop it. Be proactive. Do the business you want to do. Do the business you want to do. And I tell you what, no slam on the internet systems and stuff like that, man. There's a lot of people building great businesses. And
Absolutely.
everybody who is anybody will agree. Doing internet business or paying for internet leads is absolutely useless if you do not have the systems in place to be able to respond quickly and stay and nurture and everything else like that. That helps to take some of the reactionary out. But when I get a phone call from one of my past clients and says, hey, listen, I want to sell before the end of I just listed yesterday, 8 showings on it today. I want to list because I don't want to be stuck here if the market crashes. Okay, let's list. When I get another agent calling me from a different state saying, hey, listen, my brother's going to sell his house. Can you help? Absolutely. When I get a call from an orthopedic surgeon of mine saying, hey, listen, our friends who work in Jason's department, they're thinking about moving to Bedford. Can you help them? Heck yeah, average sale price 480, I'm in, right? Yeah, that's the business I want to do. That's the best. And I got to tell you what, when I say I take a nap at 2:00 every day, it might be 3:30, but I do have that built into my schedule, and I do have the luxury, right? Because I'm not sitting there waiting for this ball and chain to ring so I can jump all over it. It's a different. I have no stress in my life. I have no debt. I have no stress. I'm not sitting there worrying that, oh, the phone's going to ring and change. It's a great strategy if you have the systems in play, but understand you're going to get into a reactionary mode. And hopefully someday you start to pull yourself out and then be proactive and make sure you make these beautiful relationships and you continue to network so you can do business by design.
Mhm. Well,
Right?
and here's the thing, nobody gets to be surprised when the market tanks. Nobody. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want any like hand wringing. Everybody's been talking about this for the last year that it's coming. In 2019, we ought to all be focused on preparing for it. And then in 2020, we just start riding the wave. I don't think anybody should be upset, whining on Facebook. Why? Don't do it. Everyone's telling you now that it's coming. And now's the time to batten down the hatches and prepare for it.
And don't message me. And don't tag me in credit repair, Mona V, this new weed drink, this new that. No, focus on your business now. Now, the stuff that we're talking about, y'all, let me just say this. It might not happen today. Okay, just like me running the marathon isn't going to happen today. Just like me losing 40 pounds isn't going to happen today. It takes systematic consistency and discipline. That creates accountability. And then...
And I'm not doom and gloom. A lot of people are like, "Oh, you need to be more positive. You need to think positively." Okay,
it's real.
I think positively. I hear from a lot of really smart people that this is going to happen, and if it doesn't happen, guess what? I still win. I have money in the bank. I have no worries. I have no debt. I'm okay. If the market doesn't take, if 2020 is even better than 2019, I'm even richer. You know, I mean, you're not going to fail by being cautious. It's just not going to happen. But I would just say, you know, again, there are a lot of great systems out there. I'm not trying to dog on anybody who has an internet lead generation based business. Not at all. If that works for you, great. But what I've seen and what a lot of the trap that a lot of people fall into is, you know, you get into this business, you don't know the business, you don't understand the business, you don't know what kind of agent you want to be. And so people are like, this worked for me, this worked for me. And so you just start doing like 20 things and then you don't make any progress because you're trying to get traction in 20 different lanes of the race. And you gotta pick a lane. You gotta pick the kind of agent and the kind of business you want to have, and you need to run as hard and fast as you can with awesome people who are going to run with you and pass the baton back and forth. That's another thing. Cut out anybody in your business, in your life who is negative, who is talking down to you, who is talking about you. That agent that you're pretty sure is stealing your contacts and you need to get rid of them.
Yep. I had to cut a lot of people out of my life. People thought I was crazy when I left the big market center going chasing the dream. And it was just like, all I heard was criticism. Man, can't you say good luck? I helped you make all this money. Am I supposed to just be pigeonholed to one town?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know what? At the end of it all, I don't know. I'm doing all right. So, and it's not even about the money for me. It's not even about the money. It's about the message. It's about helping people at this point. There's a greater calling, right? I can go back into real estate, full time and make a crap load of money, but that's not my passion. That's not my calling, right?
Well, and whatever, focus on your passion, focus on your calling. And I would say, I just, I kind of feel I don't want to be like hippie woo woo here, but somebody's watching this and something's bothering them and it's nagging them that there's something that they need to do or there's someone that they need to cut or eliminate, and they're dreading that confrontation. Can't you just kind of feel that out in the universe?
Yeah.
That it's like, oh, I know that this person's not for me, but they're my partner, but there's all this conflict, and I know that it's just holding me back, but I don't want to have that conversation. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be ugly. You need to have that conversation today. You need to rip that Band-Aid off. Whatever's the thing that you don't want to do, that's scaring you the most, that's freaking you out, that one change that you know that you need to make, you need to go make that change today. Because that is the confrontation that you are dreading the most is the one that you most need to have. You need to go do that thing.
Have that deep conversation with yourself in the mirror.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I leave everybody with my contact information?
Yep, I'm just going to read this one question real quick. Christina asked, I'm curious what you both would say would be the leanest business model possible if as much fat as possible was cut. Obviously, it'll depend on the size of the brokerage, though. You can take a stab at it. I'll give you my opinion, too.
Rent. I personally think it's going to be really difficult to run a reputable business out of your home. That's just my opinion. One safe way to do that is to sublease. I'm going to give away one of my secrets. We actually sublease space from a real estate attorney. I think it's like the most brilliant thing I've ever done. So get a sublease so that you're not on the hook for something. And something that's nice. We are an A class commercial space, but because it's a sublease, it's affordable. I'm a big believer in coaching. Nobody knows everything. And once you've hit your bandwidth of what you know and can provide to your team, then you owe it to your team to pay for coaching and continually improve.
Mhm.
And then, beyond that, just really know what you need and not necessarily what everybody else has.
Mhm.
Um, you probably need a website, you probably need a 1-800 number, you probably need text leads, you probably need a lot of those things. Just make sure you're doing them as efficiently as possible. Look for services that bundle, and again, never sign a contract unless you can pay for the entire year up front. And then just keep things as lean and know your cost per agent if it's not just you. If it is just you, know what your cost is to exist, and know that you're not making money until you've made that 2,500 or that 5,000 or whatever it is. So, and don't go cheap on your E&O insurance ever. Insurance is one of those things. If you're going to have it, invest in it and get the best.
Right. The insurance should be called in case you.
In case, yeah.
Yeah, in case you need it, right? And you want it, it's good. I will jump into that a little bit more from like a business lead kind of a source or a sustainability source. And I would say build a business by referral. Follow Brian Buffini, follow Michael Mayer, get the 7 levels of communication. Probably one of the best, if not the best. Get Matthew Ferry's How to Create Sales Velocity. That book will change your mind. It's not about the transaction. It's about the relationship. So when you're able to, for free, go onto Facebook and build a community page for your local community and put out good content, not about real estate per se, sharing events that are local, and it's all free already on Facebook, showcasing other businesses. And instead of being B2C, business to consumer, you're now B2B because you're working with businesses and getting into their consumer database. You grow your second and third level, your exposure to other people. That's free. I haven't spent any money yet. Yeah, you might do a $25 give card, right, to their restaurant, but if they donate it and you do it right, now it still hasn't cost you anything. The only thing it might cost you is $40 to boost that post to the, maybe 3 or 4 mile circumference of the restaurant or to the town. Right now, we're talking about really short money. Now, network with the Chamber of Commerce, network with the Rotary, BNI is sometimes a paid group, right? Those types of groups where other people come. Create your own power circle. Mortgage person, financial advisor, attorney, insurance person. Go to these groups together. Do shared networking events together. I'm giving you like a fire hose of coaching stuff, right? We usually talk. I'm giving you all the high level stuff. You got to break it down. You go to these events together. You're getting into their second level. So when you start thinking that this is a business to consumer business and start looking at it as business to business, your business will blow up. That's what the Brian Buffini system's all about, like working on the higher level. At first, it's about connecting with your consumer, right? But also then identifying who your inner circle is. And then, what's his name? The guy that's always yelling. I don't know.
Gary.
Nah, I can't remember. It's somebody nobody ever, everybody, I don't know. Gary Kelser calls it the Allied Forces. Brian Buffini calls it the inner circle. I call it the power circle. When you start connecting with those people, when you start able to get into their second level, because the average person knows 50 people on average, right? The average business might have 1,500 people following their page, right? Or their social media or whatever. So now all of a sudden your second level is worth so much more. So much more. And I'd rather have 20 good business contacts than 500 people in my database. Just the way that I'd run my business. And that stuff's all pretty much free. It's about relationships. It's about networking. And that's the way the business was built before any of the social media was around. That would be my suggestion. I was about to ink up for a 3-year commitment for something, going to try to negotiate 1-year cash deal. Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You know why people want to tie you into contracts?
Because their product sucks.
Often.
And they know that you're going to bolt after 4 months if you're not looped into a contract.
But you're stuck there, and now they can project.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I gotta give a hand to Brivity. Our website CRM is in our text lead is all through Brivity, and Ben Kinney. He's a Keller Williams guy, and he doesn't like contracts. He doesn't like to being held in anything. And so one of his values is he doesn't hold agents into contracts.
No.
And We've been with Brivity for our CRM and for our website and all that good stuff for over a year now. Not getting anything for saying this. I'm just saying one of the reasons why we chose them is because they weren't holding us into a contract. They like, we think you're going to like our product so much that you're going to stay with us without having to have a contractual commitment. And you know what? They're right. Their customers
1,000,000% agree. If your product is worth the weight that you say it is, then I don't need a contract. I won't want to leave.
Yep. That's the conversation to have when these people call you and say, hey, sign up we're going to send you 50 leads a month. Okay.
They're not leads. They're inquiries.
Yeah. They're inquiries. They're broke people on the internet at 1:00 in the morning. But anyway, yeah, if it's that good, then they should offer it to you month to month, because if it's that good, you'll keep paying for it.
Yep. All right. Y'all know how to get a hold of me. We got to wind this down. We're at an hour and 11 minutes, I think. So Amie, hit us. How do people find you?
Okay. Well, if you want to know more about personal finance from my perspective, my book is called Your Money God's Way. It's available on Amazon. Big blue cover with a little piggy bank on the front. I wish I had a copy of it with me, and I don't. Every author's worst nightmare. But it's Your Money God's Way by Amie Streater. It's available on Amazon.com. My website's amiestreater.com. It's AMIESTREATER. AmieStreater.com. If you have any questions and you want to reach out, everything's confidential. I'm here to help, not charging for anything. But I hope I don't regret this. My cell phone number is 719-339-7224. If you want to text me a question, I'll do my best to answer it. I don't want to, if I don't know the structure of your business, I may not want to offer you like specific dollar amounts and things like that. I want to be a help and not an interference. But if you do have a specific question, shoot me a text and I'll do my best to answer it. And then of course you can friend me on Facebook and follow all the crazy adventures. I'm just Amie Streater. And then my business is Amie Streater Realty on Facebook. Would love to have you join. And I do have a Facebook group called Money Smart Mega Agents. You can look that up and join that. And we talk about real estate and finance in there. Love to have you join us for that.
Yeah, awesome. And I think, honestly, we need to spend more time, the industry itself and our industry leaders need to spend some time, because there is none on financial literacy and disciplines and our more literacy. Discipline is something that we can learn down the road. More literacy, understanding the flow of money when you get it, because a lot of people coming into this business from a salary position or an hourly position where you did a predetermined set of tasks, you got your $867, you can spend every penny of it because next week you're going to get another $867, right? Yep. We're coming into this and now we got to handle all that money, but we used to spend that $867. And I think it's Parento's law that we're going to do the amount of time that we allot to. It's the same thing with money. We're going to spend the amount of money that you give me. Right? We got to break the cycle. We got to break the habit. And I think we need more talk about financial literacy first and foremost, and then financial disciplines, which are a habit that we can develop over time. But understanding when you listen, if you want to make $100,000 and live like you make $100,000, it's not $100,000 GCI. That's the first step. Understand what you need to make. $100,000, $25,000 for business, $25,000 for taxes. Oh, lo and behold, at the end of the day, you need to make like $167,500. Changes the way you're going to goal plan.
Yeah, it does.
Right. Awesome. Amie, I want to thank you for being here. I think the knowledge that you're bringing and stuff like that is so much needed. Y'all, you heard her contact information. Reach out to her, pester her, hit her up, and ask her questions. Post in any of the groups that we're going live, and we'll all get tagged. Besides that, anybody that was registered on the webinar, the replay will be going out. If you weren't registered on the webinar, just send me a PM or whatnot, and we'll get it out to you as well. Besides that, Amie, thank you.
Hey, thanks everybody who joined us. Really appreciate it. I love talking about this stuff.
Me too. Bye, everybody. Happy selling. Happy 2019. Cut your expenses.